higher electricity and gas tariffs for the April to June period, and authorities expect further increases in subsequent quarters as fuel prices rise due to the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. Grid operator SP Group says April to June will see electricity tariffs for homes go up by 2.1% to 27.27 cents per kilowatt hour. This means the average monthly electricity bill for families in HDB 4-room flats will increase by $1.80. Town gas provider City Energy says gas tariffs for households will increase by 0.24 cents per kilowatt hour to 21.92 cents per kilowatt hour. Singapore's electricity and town gas tariffs for each quarter are determined by the first 2.5 months of the preceding quarter. The war on Iran began on February 28th. Looking ahead, the Energy Market Authority says Singapore could see potentially sharper energy tariff increases in subsequent quarters. This applies to both electricity and town gas. EMA says it's monitoring the situation closely and working with the industry to ensure supply security. Sabrina Ng reports.
As conflict rages on in the Middle East, global fuel supply chains are feeling the impact, with oil and natural gas prices rising sharply. With about 95% of Singapore's electricity produced from imported natural gas, the ongoing conflict is disrupting supply chains and driving up fuel costs. Experts say tariff movements depend on several factors, so the outlook remains uncertain.
Globally, natural gas price will have big impact on how much price we can go in the coming months, and there are some other factors also impact the price. For example, the global supply chain, right? If since the war started, so we have seen there's a big supply chain disruption in terms of the natural gas, and also the geological tension potential have also impact on the natural gas price.
Experts say current tariff increases may reflect only part of the impact, with further rises possible.
We should expect to see further upward revisions to the tariff in the next quarter ahead if things don't go backwards. And the chance of things going backwards with the supply becoming available and the prices of the fuels decreasing within this period of time, they're really quite small, because what's happened cannot be reversed very easily.
He warns that there is a possibility that high prices could become a so-called new normal, with it potentially taking years for the physical infrastructure in the Middle East to be rebuilt.
It seems likely that we must be facing a higher cost moving forward. Just how high remains an open question. But I hope that policymakers and the decision makers and investors at the time are very mindful of the risk of locking in additional oil and gas infrastructure. And there's going to be a very complicated balance between resilience and low carbon futures that we need to be addressing.
EMA says it cannot predict how long the Middle East conflict will last, and is urging households and business consumers to prepare for higher and more volatile energy costs. One such way is by using more energy-efficient appliances and conserving energy to reduce consumption.
More than 1 million Singaporean households in HDB flats will receive support to offset utilities expenses and service and conservancy charges in April. The rebates are part of the permanent GST voucher scheme aimed at helping lower and middle-income households. Eligible homes will get up to $190 in utility rebates. And depending on the HDB flat type, there's an additional up to 1 month of service and conservancy charges rebates. The rebates are dispersed in April, July, October and January each year. For the entire year, eligible households can get up to $570 in utilities support, as well as 3.5 months of service and conservancy charges rebates. For more, I'm joined by Dr. Sung Jinseok, Research Fellow at the Energy Studies Institute at NUS. Doctor, thanks for joining us this evening. Now, Singapore relies heavily on imported natural gas. How exposed are we to these global price shocks?
So Singapore is 100% import dependent on natural gas supply, and 95% of electricity generated is generated at the gas-fired plants. So we can say that exposure to international energy market volatility is quite high. Yeah.
So EMA says current tariffs are only partially affected by recent price increases. Can you explain how that works and how much more could come through in the next few quarters?
So regulated electricity and gas, city gas plants are based on first 2.5 months of fuel price of previous quarter. So this conflict started at the end of February. So we should consider that the impact of a global energy crisis is not fully factored into energy price of regulated energy price of a second quarter.
So EMA is also warning of potentially higher and more volatile costs ahead. What should households and businesses realistically prepare for?
So we should expect that higher energy price in the second quarter and possibly even higher price in the energy price in the third quarter, because that energy price is like average price of a previous 3 months. So if this conflict extends into the third quarter, that the price that the impact of this energy crisis will be more acutely felt in the third quarter. So we should be more maybe energy saving and energy efficient life with a higher room temperature, or using a more energy effective appliance and more public transport might help us saving energy bills. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And for consumers on electricity retail contracts, how might they be affected differently when it comes time to renew contracts?
So it depends on what kind of tariff plan the consumer is looking for. So if the renewed contract will be based on the fixed price, that we should expect that the fixed price level can be higher than previous one. And if the tariff plan is based on the indexation to wholesale electricity market price, then during the period of energy crisis, that we should expect that wholesale electricity price will remain volatile and might remain elevated. So it depends on what kind of tariff plan that consumer is looking for.
And beyond households, right? What impact could higher energy prices have on businesses and the wider economy?
So more energy-intensive industry, such as refineries or petrochemical industry, aviation sector, or data centers, will more acutely felt the impact of a global energy crisis, as the share of energy costs in their operational cost is very high. So this will be factored into manufacturing costs and will be factored into service costs, and which will eventually impact the price level in our economy. So this impact will be felt gradually because of the energy pricing mechanism in our country, but some industry will feel much faster and more immediately.
All right, Dr. Sung, thanks for those insights. Dr. Sung Jinseok there from the Energy Studies Institute at NUS.